You are about to witness history in the making.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to another Pop Culture Gamers Special. This is Culture Gamers Special number 6 for the Picard series. Only 4 more to go after this. My name's Hayden, and I'm here as always with Alan. How are you doing, Alan?
Hey Hayden, Constatu, how are you today, this evening? Glad to be here again for another episode.
Yeah, after our failed attempt, we had to abort last night.
Yeah, that was a bit disappointing. Like
was.
I said to you, I thought it was my fault, but we cleared up that it wasn't, so thankfully I can't be blamed.
No, it wasn't your fault at all. It was one of those things of the technology let us down because we had it all planned. I'd initially done some notes, and then just of what the story was, and then what I do is I go back through subsequent viewings and then add in all of my polish to it, as it were, and all of the references. And Alan had gone in and updated his after I'd done all of my polish, but my version didn't update over OneDrive.
Yeah.
And I lost all of my polish, so I've had to do it all again tonight.
Yeah, I felt very sad for you. All your work.
Yeah, well, I just had to watch the episode again. What can I say?
That's okay.
Yeah, life's like that. And interestingly enough, when I said to my, because I kind of like went up sheepishly to my wife after leaving her abandoned all night while I've been doing this, I said, "Oh, Alan's just let me know that he's ready to record. Is that okay?" And she said, "It's only because she likes listening to your voice that she said it's okay."
That's very kind of her. Thank you.
I'll tell her that. Right, okay, so let's do a recap then. So this episode's called The Impossible Box, and I like the actual name of this episode because it acts as a metaphor for a number of different things.
Yeah.
Because there is an actual literal puzzle box in this.
Yeah.
But also there is the fact that the Borg cube is a box which the Romulans are trying to unravel the mysteries of, but also Daj herself is a metaphor for the puzzle box.
Yeah.
Because of her memory and, trying to unravel what's going on with her in herself, because she knows something's wrong and she's trying to. But anyway, we'll go into the recap.
Yeah.
So we get the recap, and it's about Picard and Elnor, Raffi and Gabe. We see them talking as well. Picard talking to Maddox just before he dies. And then on the Borg cube with Narek and Soji, and also Narek and Rizzo as well. So we see a few different things, nothing major. I don't think there was any real revelations in there or things that focus us back to anything else. So we start off with a dream sequence, and this is a Soji dream sequence of a young girl walking down a corridor in a house that's got a bad storm going on outside. She opens a door to a lab, and there's orchids in the room. Now, obviously, we know that this is Soji, and this is the first time, I think, that Picard has referenced Picard in an obscure way, because if you remember going back to the very, very first episode, Daj, before she died, said that her father was a xenobiologist and bred a type of orchid. And it was Orchid Daj Sapphire or something or other like that, which was named after her. And that was basically yellow and pink orchids, which is what was in the room, which was interesting.
Yeah.
I noticed that. The girl is sneaking around the lab. She can't see much because of these orchids. And then the girl's name is shouted, and it's Soji. And with that, she sort of wakes up. But this is an interesting thing because there's a parallel to the Next Generation in here, because dream sequences have been used before in the Next Generation and across Star Trek. So, for example, Picard had his dream sequence at the beginning of First Contact about being assimilated. But more extensively, dream sequences were used in Star Trek, especially the episode Birthright, where Data unlocks the ability to dream by a happy accident that is that involves alien technology, Dr. Julian Bashir from DS9, and Geordie LaForge. And Data dreams of his father, which is obviously Dr. Noonan's son. And Soji is dreaming of her father.
Yeah.
So there's a nice little parallel there because, as far as we're concerned at the moment, Soji is the daughter of Data, and who was created by Bruce Maddox. So that's a story that they haven't really deviated from so far. Whether or not that does deviate in the future is a different thing.
Yeah, I have a bit of a, because of that sequence now, and you don't really see the face of the person she's dreaming of behind the orchids and stuff. I wrote down a bit of a theory later on about that, who I think it is.
Because I have to admit, I think Maddox has to be involved in it somewhere because he says that he created them and they were perfectly imperfect.
I think Son is involved in it somewhere still.
Do you?
Yeah, because I mean, just say, because like if you remember an episode like 29, 30 years ago now, Data's mum, Julianne, played by Julianne.
Yes, she did.
Yeah, and Son put the mind of his wife when she died into a replication, or basically a copy, like another android, of his wife. I think maybe Son has done the same with his own mind, put it into the body of an artificial or a synthetic of an android or something, and he then
sorry, go on. I'm sorry, I'm interrupting you. Carry on.
No, you're fine. And I just think my theory was, because if you look, like, it's kind of really deep dive, It's like, I have to try and get it clear in my head now. So he's basically and he had the tech from when he copied his wife to an android. As we know, human minds can exist in the android brain. Because of Sung's best mate, Graves, did just that to Data when he too took over his body, and Soji said her father grew orchids. Well, Sung did too in TNG episode Brothers. Sung tends to a giant twin orchid. If you see when he walks into the room, there's a twin orchid that he's growing himself, and there's all small orchids kind of all over the room that they're in the lab, we'll call it as well.
Yeah.
So I think like that's the orchids. I think he's somehow put his mind into an android, and he was working with Maddox then for the last 14 years or whatever, when Maddox disappeared, and the two of them together helped build the twins. That's what I think, because of that sequence. I don't know if it's true or not, but
yeah, and that would also link in with a line that was a little bit of a throwaway line from Maddox talking to, I think it was Jurati. Yeah, it was Jurati.
Yeah,
saying, thanks to the contributions of Sung, myself, and to Jurati.
Yeah.
For creating the twins.
Yeah.
Which tends to indicate that Sung would be alive. So is it that Sung is actually in the nest? Is that what they're looking for?
Well, I think the nest, or what's it called? Well, you see later on, he called it her home. He was looking for her home when I won't go into too many spoilers because you're going to recap it later on in the episode you're going to talking about now. And she has a vision of her home when he uses kind of.
Well, that's what this dream sequence is, isn't it?
No, but I'm saying later on the episode, Narek put Soji into the room, to get her to kind of meditate, I suppose. Well, I can't remember the term they used.
Yeah.
To see her home world, or where she's created the memory. Like, there's a lot of memories in her head are fake. Obviously, they've been put there, as we see later on. Like, she's only 3 years old, really. And I think the nest is actually the home world of Son and Maddox. That's what I think.
Yeah, and probably that's where son is actually still living
Yes,
as well.
if he's
maybe
alive.
with other synths.
Yes,
If he's created them since.
Yeah.
So anyway, interesting, theories there. So we go back to now goes over the Borg cube, and Rex and Soji are in bed. She starts talking to him about her dream, and talk about he's talking about Soji being full of secrets. They talk about the Romulans and the fact that they have secret names, which is interesting later on. So the Romulans only have the name that everyone knows them, and then the real name, which is the one which only the loved ones know. So Narek asks Soji about speaking to a mother every night, which becomes a little bit more embroiled in the plot later on. And Soji's like looking at a picture of a family. Just as an interesting note, because I don't know whether or not you noticed, but there's a lot of like paintings and that in her room. And basically Soji paints like what we believe to be her father did, with evidence of this can be seen across episodes like the Next Generation episode Birthright as well, where Data painted his dreams, as well as the opening episode of Picard season 1 episode 1. So again, we've got another Easter egg to an earlier episode in this series, because the first scene that we see with Data actually has him painted. The other interesting thing about her pictures is a lot of symmetry in her pictures, either showing two objects or reflections, as it were, referencing the twin aspect of her and Dash as well. So I think that was quite interesting. And there's also, she has like wooden, those posable figures as well.
Yeah, for art and stuff. You see them.
So that you can get the idea of how the body would form in such ways, and then draw from that. Well, that becomes more relevant later on. So we'll carry on.
Can I just jump in there now for the reference for the 4 names, because this is kind of my weekly. For some reason, a novel or a comic kind of pops up for me when I hear or something. So this is my weekly. We should get a jingle for this. This is my weekly novel. The part where they have the 4 names, or the names given the secret name, that's actually taken. I didn't know if you might have known this because your knowledge is massive, but it's actually taken from a 5-book series novels called the Ransu series by Diana Dunn. I read these now. These are from like 2000. 1984 was the first one came out, but it was kind of 2000 when they were released in audiobook format to 2006. And it deals again with the Romulans having 4 names, and the 4th one is the secret name only given out to very close people or someone they love. Now, the series interlinked. The series names was applied in the first novels, was released in 2000. The 5th novel, obviously, was 2006. Ransu refers to the Romulan species, which were kind of first introduced in the Star Trek episode. I think it was Balance of Terror episode.
It was.
Yeah, so I got it right. However, the language depicted in the novels and her creations actually don't have any continuum in the Star Trek. They don't actually continue the canon, or they're not actually connected to anything else in the series or anything. It was just a kind of one of those, kind of they do like with the Star Wars, where they had a spin-off show or a spin-off episode or something. It's a really good series. There's 5 books there. I've listened to all 5 of them. And it's kind of like about Romulan politics, and there's not even much of the Tal Shiar or stuff like that kind of stuff. It's just basically about Romulan, and she created languages and cultures and all the other stuff. It's a really good series. It's called the Ransu series. RIHANNNSU. If you want. And Diana Dunn is one of the writers. And I actually think she was involved somewhere in the Star Trek Picard show as well. So I think that's why we get this nice touch again of the names, the secret name. So that's a real deep dive. So another novel, if anyone wants to go listen to it or anything, I listen to them on my runs, as you know. So
yeah, so his secret name, we actually find out later on is Ryan.
Yeah.
Spelled RHAI space YAN, which I tried looking up the Arabic name. I thought sounds Arabic. It wasn't. The only thing that I could actually, the only well, there was one or two other ones, but the one that I did find was Bangle or Bangla for loose.
No,
I didn't really.
It actually is Arabic. It means traitor or treachery.
That's it. Fix.
Yeah, it is.
It's spelt differently though, because what you're talking about is Kyana, which is Khyana, but his name is Rhai space Yan.
I agree with you there, but I think the connection was they kind of want him to connect to he's a traitor, he's using treachery to trick her. So I think they were putting that in there, you know.
Maybe.
No.
Well, no, because it's a different spelling.
Okay.
Because let's say it's a different word. Because I did look at Arabic because I thought it was, and the way that they spelt it, because I looked at because what I tend to do now, because you know what Star Trek's like, you can hear a pronunciation and it can be spelt 20 different ways.
Yeah. So
I looked at how it was spelt, and then I did a search on Google Translate to try and find it. It's all part of research, isn't it?
Oh yeah, definitely.
But I couldn't find like a really good, reference to that, and I've been doing some searching on the internet. So either that or else on the subtitles they've spelt it wrong, which is not beyond the realms of possibility.
I think they spelt it wrong. Truthfully, I think they actually mean it to mean treachery or traitor. I think they want to, because that's his character, really. I think.
Yeah, or maybe Google Translate's not translated it correctly, because that's a possibility. Because it's your go-to source really for looking up this sort of information in different languages.
That's true.
So yeah. Anyway, we go on to La Serena, and Jurati is talking about Maddox's injuries. Picard saying, "Oh, it's very hard for you." He obviously is completely unaware for the fact that yes, it is because she killed him. In the last episode, and she's saying, well, it is, but it's more than you can imagine. Jurati talks to Picard about the artifact. Elna enters a conversation, asks about it as well. Picard says he's not looking forward to going back there. He says his last visit wasn't voluntary, which we know the last time he was on a Borg cube was on The Best of Both Worlds Part 1 and 2, where he was he was assimilated.
Yeah, he breakdown there now.
Yeah, exactly. And basically then Jurati goes on and says everything that the Borg had done to him, which I thought at first that's really quite crass and callous, when you could see that he was sort of like struggling, and he is an older man as well. And to be honest, I really don't like Jurati.
No,
you don't like Raffi. Yeah. I don't like Jurati in exactly the same sort, but different way. But Jurati says that maybe as they cut off from other Borg, they've changed, and I love this sentence because it's sort of like it still shows Picard's aggression 20 odd years later from him being assimilated. Well, nearly 20 years on from first contact, even, where he has that big speech about we must draw the line here and all of that, as he does, because he gets really angry about the Borg and says that they don't change, they metastasize.
Yeah, that's what I was saying a few minutes ago. It really was a great scene. It was a real throwback to the first contact when he lost his temper, and you rarely see him losing control of his emotions like that. So I quite like that moment.
Sorry, I said it wrong, by the way. It was metastasize, which basically it's like a growing cancer.
Yeah,
which is a very good sort of description of the Borg, really.
Yeah,
because it's nanites that eat people from the inside out and make them into something else, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's a good parallel to First Contact. I thought that. Anyway, Picard leaves, and Ellis says to Jurati that Picard just can't see that she's haunted by something that she would like to forget. And then, he says, sorry, was I in butting? And she says, yes, in that time you were in butting.
Yeah.
Instead of butting in. Just that little play on stuff. Then we go on to the holodeck, and Picard does a search on the artifacts, treaty, and the Borg. And we see various different images here. Now, this is really interesting.
Yeah.
Because there is a ship outside of a Borg cube, giving it damage. I wondered whether or not that was, because I thought at first, is it something from the Battle of Wolf 359?
Yeah.
But then I thought, no, because that looks like a Sovereign class or that style starship. So I thought that would be later than Wolf 359. And then I thought, could it have been like a picture from First Contact? But I don't
it's from
remember.
First Contact. It's the Enterprise E attacking the Borg cube in First Contact. I caught that one.
I looked at it and I thought, I'm not 100% sure whether or not it was or it wasn't. But anyway.
But for me, it was. I thought I paused it. I did a pause.
Yeah.
Still. And then I captured the picture and I did a Google search with the picture.
Right.
And it came up then from First Contact.
Yeah.
It was Enterprise E attacking. Yeah, so it was a nice.
Yeah, I thought it might have been, but I have to admit I didn't stop and pause it in that quick image. but what I did pick up very quickly, there was a Romulan continuing committee that was actually done. A lot of people would have called it a Romulan Senate, but it wasn't the Senate. It was a continuation committee. And this was from the episode of DS9, Inter Arma Enim Silent Ledges, where Bashir is involved in a Section 31 plot to ensure that the Romulans remained on the side of the Federation Alliance in the war with the Founders.
Yeah. I saw that. I caught that one as well.
Yeah, I did hear somebody saying that was actually the Romulan Senate from a different episode, and they've got it wrong. Because I can't remember what episode it was that they said now, but it wasn't the same thing. I think it might have even been from Nemesis.
Nemesis. I when I first saw it, I thought it was Nemesis.
Yeah, I did, and then I thought no, because the costumes are wrong. Because there just wasn't quite. Nemesis had more detailed ornate costumes.
It was actually the hair or something kind of threw me off when I paused it and I looked at it, and I was going, the makeup and the style they did in Nemesis was a lot different. So then I kind of did the same as you, looking and seeing what I saw. And I saw it was from Bashir, kind of Section 31 epismind, I suppose I called it.
And I loved that episode as well.
Yeah, it's a great episode.
It is.
Bashir at his best.
All of the mind you, I must admit, one that I liked even better was Bashir, I presume. The one where he does the James Bond. That is so funny. Is that episode brilliant? Yeah. So we get a picture of the Borg, and then a Hugh as a young and an old version. So it's a Hugh from iBorg who then later turned up in Descent Part 1 and 2, and then the old version of him, which is him as the director on the Borg cube. See a picture of Starfleet, and a picture of Nameless, and then Locutus. And I really liked what they did here, because Picard's looking at all of this through a monitor which is transparent, and then you see from the other side of the monitor, and then they overlay Locutus over Picard. And what I love about that is that overlay is, I think, maybe saying that there is still the Borg. It's either about the Borg leaving the impact within Picard so that it'll never leave, or that maybe there's still a bit of Borg in Picard, which links back to his conversation with Seven the week before, which was a fantastic scene where he says that he didn't fully regain his humanity, but he tries to gain back a little bit more every day, sort of thing. I thought that was really well the way that they overlaid that image. Sorry, mate, you've gone really quiet.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I don't know what happened there.
Sorry. I loved this. I mean, I think I messaged you after I watched it that there was one moment in this that gave me goosebumps again. Kind of every now and then you get moments like that, like the engage, and that again was the moment. But it was just interesting because he touched his face as well while he was looking at it. No coronavirus in space, obviously. So I thought it was a great. I love those kind of moments. I keep saying it every week, but they're such great moments, and I really think future episodes now, when we hopefully other characters come into us, we're going to get even more moments like that.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, it was a great. It kind of gave a nice bit of information, a nice bit of canon, I suppose you could call it, of past episodes and past series and stuff in a quick kind of montage. Would you call it kind of a quick montage? He was kind of flicking through, It was really good. It was nice.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
So we cut now to the main deck, and this is interesting because I never mentioned this last week,
Right.
or the week before, but I was sort of feeling that there was something brewing between these two. But Rios is practicing football skills shirtless. And then Jurati enters, and they're obviously they're making it so that they're attracted to each other. Jurati doesn't understand why Rios likes space. They have a drink. He can see that she's upset. They kiss. She says she's never slept with a captain before. Jurati says she has a superpower of knowing when she's doing something wrong while it happens. Who doesn't?
Yeah.
Rios asks what she's feeling now. She's saying hollow, helpless, lonely, afraid. They kiss some more, and then they nip off for a little bit of whatever it is that they do in the 24th century.
Yeah. Just a quick one. You said you saw it coming for the last two episodes, right?
Yeah.
This again is going back to the writers, as I think I spoke 2 episodes ago, that I just feel sometimes they're shoehorning stuff into it. I didn't feel this was earned at all. This scene, this moment, it feels like they haven't gotten to know each other at all. Like just kind of one or two conversations. We really have no idea how long they're on the ship together for. There's no, as most TV shows or movies, time periods. They could have been there for one day, could have been a week. We don't know really. And it's just, but the way it was written in a way like they had a growing romance. It's already fairly well advanced. It just felt so that makes their kiss seem like it just didn't feel earned to me. And it felt like, actually going back, it felt out of left field, like the Rey and Kylo kiss from Star Wars, from the Skywalker kiss, Rise of Skywalker. I didn't feel that was earned either, and I just felt it was just shoehorned in. There was no need for it. It didn't mean anything, and I don't think it will really explore this moving forward in future episodes. I think they just threw it in as a brief scene. I don't know why.
I'm not so sure. I think it might actually be going to link into some of the plot later on.
I don't think
because
so.
I think this because don't forget that Rios is very a Picard fanboy, and I think he might get torn at some point between him having to do something about Jurati because now he's got emotions, and his thing of, but it's Picard telling me that she's a bad one. I kind of have that feeling that it might be there. Not enough to put it into a theory, but I get that.
What's it got to do with the story? What's it got to do with Picard?
But they'll build it into the story, won't they? I don't know. I just get that feeling.
Yeah.
And the reason why I thought that these two were going to get it together at some point in this series was because of the episode the other week where they went to the Las Vegas type sort of planet, because he was very sort of calming her down, showing her empathy, all of this sort of the other, and I don't think that Rios was the type of character that would do that. So I thought he's attracted to her, and she seems to be responding to him, and and the play fighting with her after she hit the robot and all of the robot hologram,
but
of this sort of thing. And I know, but I think that those were the moments that they've shoehorned in to explain this scene.
They weren't good enough moments. They weren't.
I know.
It wasn't. It didn't deserve where we ended up with them so quickly and so fast. It just for me, it just again it felt out of place. I just thought in this episode, if we didn't have it in the episode, this 2 or 3 minutes of that moment, we wouldn't have, if they hadn't have written it in and just had gone on somewhere else or
Yeah.
just cut 2 minutes shorter on the episode, it wouldn't have been lost on me. I wouldn't have minded.
To be honest, I wouldn't have minded him not to
Yeah.
be involved with her at all.
Yeah.
I think to be honest, especially after what happens in this episode, it would have made more sense for Rios to have been attracted to Raffi.
I agree with you, and I actually agree with you. He actually showed more concern and actually more caring for her later on. No,
like there's a deeper relationship.
Connection, 100%. Yeah, I'd actually believe that more if they kissed or something. And again, it's just I think the writer's putting stuff in there for the sake of putting in. You know,
I think that this with Jurati's been chosen specifically because I think there's going to be a reveal about her, and I think that Rios is going to be torn. And that's what I think is going to happen, but I'm not. I haven't got enough information. I haven't got enough data to be able to pull that together to a proper theory yet. But it's sort of like a proto theory at the moment.
Yeah.
So that scene ends pretty quickly. We cut to the Borg cube, and Rizzo's playing with a Romulan mystery box. And Narek enters the room, and he wants it back because it's sort of like his little toy. They've discussed Soji's dreaming. Narek sees that there is a specific reason for that happening. Rizzo's sort of like, yeah, whatever, don't believe you, sort of thing. Talk to the hand, the face doesn't want to listen. So she's saying, right, we'll accelerate plans forward, whatever. This has gone on long enough. He's saying, no, there is a meaning to the dreaming. Every piece of the design has a purpose. The dreaming has to have a purpose, and he's saying that it's about Soji's id, as it were, her equivalent of her id. A subconscious trying to reconcile that she is not human with being the thought that she is human with the implanted memories. So the Rizzo decides, right, okay, well, we'll extend it further then in that case, and that he's allowed to carry on with his plan because he thinks that this is the vulnerability he's been looking for to exploit Soji.
Yeah.
And the aim is to get to the location of the home world, as I put it. So Narek says, and then it goes off on back to a tangent to the box and says that the key to opening Tan Zahran, or the box that Rizzo was playing with, is taking time to understand what is keeping it closed, and he demonstrates this when the box pops open. And interestingly enough, there's a little female character pops up out of it as well, if you remember.
Yeah, and I like the part where he said you have to be patient. The box didn't open instantly, it kind of slowly revealed itself. I thought that was an interesting metaphor as well.
There was a cogwheel mechanism going on that you could hear it, and it was very slow.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what Rizzo couldn't stand because she has no patience. It was a quality she never had. But like I said before, that box being used as a metaphor for not only the secrets of the Borg cube, the box literally itself, but also unraveling Soji, both Narek unraveling Soji and Soji discovering herself through this journey that Narek was taking her on as well. So I thought it was quite. I like the idea of the episode being called The Mystery Box.
Yeah.
So Rizzo says that they're going to. Back to La Serena. Rizzo says that they're going to be in breach of intergalactic treaty, but Picard has a plan. Sort of like has a plan, question mark. Jurati says, why don't we post as scientists, which Picard says, with my face, basically, which is fair enough. Probably the second most famous captain of all of Star Trek. Yeah. Other than, Picard being second to Kirk, probably.
Kirk. Yeah.
It's not surprising. It's like if and even if the Romulans don't recognise me, which let's face it, I'm the poster boy for Starfleet still. The the ex-Borg are going to recognise me as Locutus. So it's not really got much singing. So, it says it's got to go down, Elnor's route of absolute candour here. Although then he goes to subterfuge because he says that he knows that there's a way through the reclamation project and a director if he can get a diplomatic pass. But Starfleet's not going to give him a pass, but they might give it to Raffi. So scene cuts to a little bit later. Everybody's thinking this is a bad idea.
Yeah.
Raffi asks for a comnet link to her friend Emmy, who's only named Emmy. We don't find out what her surname is, but she's a Starfleet captain. Now, what I found interesting here, I don't know if you noticed this, but the captain insignia, which is the 4 circles, is no longer on the collar, but is actually on the opposite side to where the Starfleet Delta insignia is on the uniform.
Yeah, you caught that.
Yeah, so that was quite a nice little redesign sort of bit. Anyway, Raffi's drinking and she's vaping because we know that she's an addict. I know we don't like all that.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about that later on.
Okay, so she asks for diplomatic credentials for Picard and basically blackmails Emmy by saying that, well, because Emmy said, where you going? Oh, we're going to the artifact. Jean-Luc Picard wants to visit the director. She said, oh, you're working for him? No, really, where are you going? All of this sort of conversation. She says, we're going, and we're going to be there in 3 hours.
Yeah.
And she's going, you got to turn round. She's saying, I'm not going to turn round. And, Picard's going to be there no matter what. You can either do it, give him diplomatic credentials to meet the director, or there can be an international incident. And even if the Federation says, we don't know anything about this, the Romulans won't believe you. So she's sort of like backed her into a corner.
Yeah, I tricked her.
I love the fact that she actually refers to Picard as saying, Picard is ego and raging id.
Yeah.
I think maybe, and I know this is again talking about the Raffi character that you don't like, but she has a real love-hate relationship with this character because Picard, she was Starfleet intelligence, all of that before meeting Picard, getting her involved with the Romulans, etc. And Picard was a catalyst that basically ruined her life, which is why she's so angry with Picard. In the previous episode.
I'm going to call this the Raffi B story, right?
Yeah,
because this story for me continues to be weak side of the story. It doesn't belong in the show. She's crying, being angry, being argumentative, depressed, constantly complaining, and like she's there's nothing about her other than the fact that she's just extremely narcissistic, and also the fact that Picard, who's supposed to be her friends in exclamation, right? He hasn't called her for 14 years, which I think was the second episode we discovered that.
Yeah.
He's supposed to be her friend. He doesn't help her with knowing that she's going through this addiction, because every time he talks to her, she just chastises him. She gives out to him. She gives him crap. I don't like this character at all in this show.
Mm.
And I think it does. I know I'm being a bit negative now again, and I noticed it from last week, I suppose, last week's episode onwards. This character is spoiling this. I love the show and I love the series, but every time this character is on screen, I kind of go, God, and I just want her to be gone with. And I think the show would be a lot better without her. Yeah,
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, it's a Raffi B story. It doesn't. They could do a lot more. They're just wasting time in her.
I see something different. That's all I can say.
I know that's fair enough.
And it's like, I think you prefer Jurati, and I don't like it.
I do. I prefer Jurati's character. I think the way she flips back and forward, her moods, and her 1 minute she's like a giddy teenager and she's excitable. Next minute there's this pain in her face, like that she knows something. And I think that she obviously we know, if you've seen what I've seen, we know that line from before she killed Maddox. I think there's something in her mind. She has the information, or she knows something that's so damaging that it's actually tearing her soul apart, or it's actually making her go crazy. I think the next couple of episodes, there's something going to happen with her. I think she's going to finally snap. I think, well, not that she hasn't snapped already.
I think that they're building that up.
Yeah, and I like the way she's been played by that actress. It's and again, I know you're not fond of her. We both have characters we don't like. That's what I think is great about this show.
Yeah,
we're not agreeing on everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. So anyway, the next thing we hear is about the Romulans are in a 250-year bad mood. Now, this is obviously referencing the Romulan First Contact, which was made in 2152 in the episode Minefield, where we don't see the Romulans at all. And Reed on the Enterprise is basically, he gets impaled by a Romulan mine, and they come to say you have to go, and they say, well, we can't go to warp while we've got a mine attached to us that's also going through the leg of one of our crew, and they say just jettison it and get lost, effectively speaking, and they say no, we won't, which is like the first start of the the Romulan hostilities. Later, we do know from Balance of Terror, that episode of the original series, that the Earth-Romulan War erupted in 2160, which was, several years later, where Earth, Andoria, Vulcan, and Tellarite alliance decisively defeated the Romulans at the Battle of Sharon. And that led to the establishment of the Romulan neutral zone and immediately preceded the incorporation of the United Federation of Planets in 2161.
Yeah.
So, lots of stuff in relation to that one comment, really.
Yeah, because I was watching that comment, I think it was the third or fourth time I was watching the show with my wife. When they said it, I said, Jesus, maybe you're Romulan. She gave me a cinema. I got a dirty look and a slap on the shoulder.
Nice one. So, discussion goes on about the fact that Picard entering this area of space might be seen as an act of war. Picard, Raffi said, Picard is still on the brochures for Starfleet. And a friend, eventually, she gets a friend to give Picard papers for a 24-hour access to the artifact. And her friend then says, just a piece of advice for you, Raffi, never call me again. So again, this is something else that she's done, and this is sort of like where I'm getting my motivation, and where I'm hoping you will see what I'm seeing in this, is that again, Raffi's contacted a friend who she doesn't speak to very often. She's trying to help Picard by forcing a friend, through a loyalty to Picard, by forcing a friend to do this, to give him the papers to be able to go. She succeeds, but at her own expense, because she's lost a friend. So that's another thing in a long line of things, that her association with Picard has just, made a world implode. And that's what I'm seeing in terms of that as a character, why I have empathy as a character.
But I don't, that doesn't make sense, because if you look back at every other character that's been connected to Picard, going back to when Picard the very first episode or whatever, he's never had anyone, not that I can remember, I'm sure you'll probably pull some out of your hat now because the Star Trek nerd you are, but why?
Hey, I'm a nerd, leave me be.
But why have they all of a sudden written this character in that she thinks Picard has destroyed her life and she's turned to alcohol and lost her kids? And now I know it's not all Picard's fault. Obviously, it's got to do with her theories about the Starfleet involved in the Mars attack and all this kind of stuff. But she's putting a lot of the blame on Picard.
Yeah, and
I don't think it's justified by her. I think she's just like I said last week. She's petulant. She's like, oh, I can't. I've got problems. It's all Picard's fault. I can't fix my problems. I don't like it. I don't think it's I don't think it's good writing in the show. They can come around doing things differently. You know.
I have seen people act like this.
Oh,
where,
yeah.
in real life, just people that,
Yeah.
not obviously not saying that Picard has done it or anything, but people who blame other people for the misfortunes in their life. And there's a lot of, and a lot of that is to do more with their approach. And I think this is another perfect example of Picard asked her to get in contact with her friend to get her diplomatic papers. What he didn't ask her was to blackmail her friend to give her it. That's the difference. And although Picard was clapping it, she's managed to do it. She managed to keep the mission going. I think a lot of it to do with Raffi is her interpretation, and the problem is actually Raffi rather than her. But I do have empathy for her at the same time, because I can understand why she sees Picard as the root of all of her problems, even though he's not, because a lot of it with Raffi is to do with her obsession over what she uncovered and the type of character I think that she's supposed to be, of not being able to not turn a blind eye and needing to make people understand and listen to the point of obsession. And I understand that.
Yeah, I see your point.
But
I don't like it. I don't. For me, it doesn't fit with my impressions of Picard or the Star Trek universe.
Yeah,
I'm still kind of holding on to the old, maybe a little bit.
Yeah, and then
But sorry, I'm cutting off again. She walked, like I think you wrote down here. She walked away while holding the alcohol, and they're all clapping. And obviously, she went to her room to get drunk and drugs or whatever she's doing, and they just leave her at it. No one is trying to help her. Obviously, Rios is a little bit, but.
Well, this is why I think it would have worked better, the relationship with Raffi and Rios.
Yes, I agree with you.
Jurati.
Yeah.
Because there is a backstory to them two. How did she know about him and all of that, and the fact that he is the only one who is actually showing her any empathy in there as well. There's a tenderness between them, which Raffi does not share with anyone, including Picard.
Yeah.
So anyway, there's a shot on Jurati here as well, with her sort of like looking very nervous, pensive, and oh God, he's managed to do this bit now as well, which was quite interesting, because if she's after the twins in the way that, what she said to Maddox, surely she would want to get to the Borg cube to kill Soji as well.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a mixed message. Anyway, we cut to the Borg cube, and Soji's talking about her dream. With Narek, she's talking talks to him about her mum, and he says, she says that she fell asleep while talking to her mum. He says, does that happen often? And she says, no, not really. Don't think so. Why? And he says, well, you call your mother every day. All calls are logged. Anomalies are identified, and all of your calls last exactly 70 seconds.
Yeah.
Which again is an unusual sort of thing.
Yeah.
Cut back to La Serena. And Rios puts Raffi to bed to talk about how long they've known each other. And she says, did you know I have a son? Did you know I have a granddaughter? I'm never going to see them. She's upset. And then she falls asleep, supposedly in a drunken stupor. And then after that, he covers her up and takes away the alcohol that she has as well. So, she's not going to get any more drinks there. Obviously, she's been used to replicate a ration.
I was going to say, just put a passcode on the replicator. Password or something.
Yeah, exactly. That would be the easiest way. But then that would be synthahol, and that's never as good as it.
Yeah.
So next we cut back to the cube and Soji calls her mum. She, asks about the day, about the daydream, asks about her day. Soji says, his dad there? She says, oh, he's in his lab. He's told he's not to be disturbed. And then immediately Soji starts falling asleep. She stabs herself in her hand saying, there's something wrong with me. And she said, oh, you've been working too hard. Lie down, take a sleep, have some rest, blah, blah, blah. And then she falls asleep.
Yeah.
And then there's a really weird smiley face of the mother, which then cuts to another view very briefly, like an observation sort of like look. It's only for a split second. And then the call ends.
Yeah.
Which makes me wonder about some stuff, which I'll talk about later on.
Okay.
Back to the Serena. Rios is asking to land on a Borg cube. They're told no. They give him beaming coordinates, and then Picard gets a flashback very briefly. Only Picard's allowed to beam down. Elnor's sort of like concerned and saying, I'm going to beam down with you. He's saying, no, you won't. You will stay here. That's an order. Picard says to Rios he'll keep the comms open. Elnor saying, he's told not to leave. And Picard looks at Daj's sort of like necklace.
Yeah.
And Jurati's also, what? So we're not going. Only you're going sort of thing. Cut back to Soji's quarters. She awakens shaken, and then she starts looking at the photos and gets them all out and other things as well, which she ages at 37 months. She has this piece of equipment which she scans. It ages. Now, there's a lovely little flashback here, which is a reference to Voyager and the Adventures of Flotter, because she's got an Adventures of Flotter lunchbox.
Yeah, I saw that as well.
Yeah, and this is Flotter T. Water, who was the main character in a holodeck series of children adventures in the Forest of Forever. I did wonder, now did Destiny 2 copy the Infinite Forest from the Forest of Forever? So one for Steve to maybe answer is that one. This is seen in Voyager Once Upon a Time, where Neelix uses Flotter stories to entertain Naomi Wildman when her mother is involved in a crash on for the Delta Flyer.
That's right, yeah, that was a good episode, actually.
It was.
Nice episode, yeah.
Yeah, so she's scanning everything, that you can see more of the pictures that she's drawn, which have symmetry or two figures, the same in them. And she ends up being confused and wound up basically sort of sobbing. Yeah.
Just a quick one there. She scanned everything, and I kept wondering, why the hell doesn't she scan herself? I was just kind of like, maybe it doesn't scan human, she thought, or something, because she still thinks she's human. Obviously, at that moment, she still has the hope she's human. She just doesn't scan herself.
I know, that would have been, to me, the most logical thing.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
How old am I?
Well. Yeah.
Oh, look, I'm that old. But maybe it just doesn't work on organic matter.
That's what I was thinking to myself afterwards, but I was just thinking, the first thing you do is you turn it on yourself to scan yourself, wouldn't you? If But again, that's only nitpicking. It's only a small thing, really.
It is, yeah. So we then cut to the Borg cube, and Picard's beaming in, and as he beams in, it zooms in on a single Borg who is in an alcove. The same sort of alcoves that you saw Seven of Nine being in on Voyager when she became part of the crew. As well as all of the E-Chip and all of the other Borg that ended up joining Voyager, but also the alcoves that you see in other episodes of Star Trek, and the ones that were also put in the Enterprise in First Contact as well. So that to me is kicking off another theory that I've got brewing as well.
Look forward to hearing
that. So when he arrives, he starts having more flashbacks about being surrounded by Borg, and this is a link to the Next Generation, the Best of Both Worlds, and the First Contact sort of flashbacks.
Yeah,
they're showing Borg, being assimilated in various different ways, and Picard suddenly shouts, "Get off!" because he's surrounded by ex-Borg who Hugh then shouts, they just don't want you to fall because there's no handrails. You know, the designer of the Borg cube obviously had a previous job on Starkiller Base on Star Wars because there is no handrails.
No
anywhere.
handrails.
So the Borg who were surrounding, or the ex-Borg who was surrounding Picard leave, and then Hugh and Picard exchange greetings, and Hugh says he'll do anything to help Picard, and that to me was a nice sort of like touching sort of moment between.
Yeah, and I kept hoping Hugh would go like, "How's LaForge?" or asking about him, but he never did. Like, I was like, "Please ask for LaForge," but he didn't.
Yeah, but maybe it's because he's already in contact with LaForge, you know.
Oh, maybe, yeah. It'd just have been nice, yeah, if he had mentioned them, you know.
Yeah, or said, you know, I was only talking to Jordan today or something, you know. That would have been a nice touch, you know, just to make it a bit more human even.
Yeah.
But it's interesting how fondly these two had a relationship when you consider how it started off, because it was actually Geordie LaForge that named Hugh, which was then the catalyst for him to start off his individuality.
Yeah.
You know, his journey of discovering that he was an I, not a we. Because at the same time, Picard, who was just suffering from the after effects of being unassimilated, as it were, was working with Riker and I think Data to develop this image that would go into the sub-processors of the Borg, and
like
eventually, as seeming something innocuous that they'll try and solve, but it will be like paradoxical, so it's unsolvable. But the Borg will apply more and more processing power over time, and eventually shut down, effectively killing the Borg.
Yeah,
and he wants to use Hugh, and he has an exchange with Guinan as well. And eventually he agrees to meet with Hugh because he's never met with him. And then basically goes, can't really do it now, can I? Because I kind of like him. He's a righteous dude. So, you know, that was the end of that plan to get rid of the Borg. But so it's interesting how that relationship has somehow blossomed over the preceding, 20, 30 years.
Yeah.
So then we go further into the cube, and, Hugh is basically talking with Picard, and he's saying, why are you living here? This must be a hard place to live. And Hugh's saying, coming back's hard, but, they're doing good work there and whatever. He says he's a member of the Federation, which was an interesting thing because we didn't know that. And he can leave all he wants, but he wants to help the XBs, as he calls them, or X-Borg. And then he says about being given a name and about how important being given a name is to the identity. Again, linking back to Iborg in The Next Generation, where Hugh gets his name as well. But he turns around to Picard and says, but you're not Locutus.
Yeah.
And the artifact is not a Borg cube anymore.
Yeah.
And Picard thanks him for that. Hugh asks how he can help. He explains about Soji, who Hugh immediately says, oh, you mean Dr. Soji Asher? So, immediately says that. Says, well, I've been thinking that she's been in danger as well because there's a Tal Shiar spy following around and asking her all sorts of questions. But, any thought about actually telling her then?
Oh, yeah.
So we go back to Soji's quarters, and she's saying what she's found to Narek, and he asks, could her mind have been altered to find something on the cube? And we know that implanting memories is a popular thing in Star Trek. It's happened on other episodes. They talk about the Romulan meditation, Jal Mach, and they go and try and do this. So go somewhere else in the cube, and Hugh is showing Picard how the reclamation procedure works. Picard is saying he's amazed that it could be done at such a small scale, and Hugh says, well, it's far from ideal, and it shows you this person who's obviously had their eyepiece removed, and they just have like patch of skin over where the eye would be.
Yeah.
Not even like a pirate patch or anything. And Hugh says that, even though we're ex-Borg, we're still the most hated people in the galaxy, but we're now also slaves to a Romulan queen. Now, I don't think that this is saying that the queen of the Romulan has a Borg queen. I think that this is more of a metaphor referencing the fact that, they are, as ex-Borgs, now serving the Romulan Star Empire.
Yeah.
Rather than there was a Borg queen on here, and now she's in charge of the Romulans, because surely the Romulans would have been assimilated. But that goes back to some of our other theories earlier.
Yes.
Hugh says that nobody could understand like him, like Picard does, and he could be an advocate for a free Borg, and then they go off to find Soji. Interestingly enough, Picard never said, do you know what? There's a mantle of challenge that I'll take on.
Yeah.
I thought it seemed interesting that you'll go for like the Romulans and save the Romulans, but you won't save the ex-Borg who know more about how they feel than the Romulans, But
yeah.
There we go. Cut back to La Serena, and Rios rakes Raffi, and says the twin's still alive. And she says, "Oh, just my luck again." Another thing that Picard's managed to do. That,
yeah.
And she said, and Rios says, "You owe me 2 strips of latinum." So latinum, if you've never heard of that, that's a rare silver-coloured liquid metal that is usually it's used by currency by the Ferengi Alliance, Cardassian, and other worlds. It was normally suspended within bits of a worthless material known as gold. The gold being a binding medium to produce gold-pressed latinum, and that can be seen in the DS9 episode Who Mourns for Morn, which was a good one. And interestingly, do you know why Morn was called Morn on DS9?
No.
It was a nod to Cheers and the character of Norm, because Morn and Norm is the opposite way around. Yeah, that's what it was.
I like that one. That's a good catch.
Yeah, Morn was always sat at
the bar.
Yeah, as Norm was on Cheers. So I like that. That was a really good sort of Easter egg for.
I like that one though as well. That's good.
Yeah. So anyway, Raffi starts talking about Soji and says, "Why haven't they killed her if they know that she's here? What do they want from her?"
Yeah.
So we then cut to the Borg cube, and the Rek and Soji are going to the Zalmach. I'm getting quite good at these Romulan words. Yeah, I've been listening to it intently, obviously. A guard turns around and says, "It's not for rounded ears," and Narek immediately says that his sub-commander's stripes are not for idiots. Now, interestingly, sub-commanders is a rank long used in Star Trek for Romulans, and it goes back to the episode Balance of Terror. So they enter into this room, which has sort of like lights on the floor and this path laid out on the ground as well.
Yeah.
He says that this is a room where they can be safe in, and this is where he says his name is Hrayan.
Yeah.
Which has the only term I could find was Bangla for lose, but we think it might be a misspelling of the Arabic.
I think it's a misspelling. I like the idea that his name would mean treachery or traitor. I think it's a nice touch.
I do as well.
So we'll keep it in because we think it's that.
Yeah. So she asks where she starts, and he explains, what the Zarmak is. So now we cut to the dream, and Soji's narrating her dream now. She's saying she's scared of thunder, that she's lonely and abandoned. He asks her to look out of the window. She says at first she can't. And he says, "Ground yourself. What do you feel?" She says that she feels Scrooge's fur against her fingers, and his hair is cold, and she is sweating. Now, Scroogey is the fluffy toy that she's actually got in her quarters on the Borg cube, but she's holding this as a girl, so it's obviously supposed to be her childhood toy. She says she's in control, so she goes to the window and she sees darkness and maybe some trees in the distance, but it's basically pitch black.
Yeah.
And raining and thundering. Narek says that she's turning the corner, the Glamwath, or the unfolding. And so she's at the door to the workshop. She can see inside, but she can't see past these orchids. And she's called and she wakes up. She says that she's scared of being in trouble or whatever. And Narek says, keep going on, keep pushing through, and walk through it and believe that she can. And then he starts saying, "You're now entering Rohan," which is the next stage of this. Then we cut to Soji's quarters. Now, this is a real, real deep catch here. Okay, I was quite proud of myself doing this sort of detective work here. Picard and Hugh enter Soji's room, and there is a lovely little announcement that is saying that chronometric radiation detected in sectors 5-8 to 521. So we might be thinking, well, what's that a link to? So chronometric particles are actually what the Borg use, or the constituent components of an energy with temporal properties. So in 2373, the Borg sphere in first contact generated a temporal vortex to the year 2063, the sort of like where first contact occurred.
Yeah.
And as a result of that, we got that whole sort of like film. So that was sort of the
nice, good catch.
The first sort of thing. The next one, which is maybe a bit more of this is really a deep dive thing, is that if you translate 5-8 and 521 to season 5, episode 8, and season 5, episode 21, right?
Yeah,
this is
I know where you're going.
My mind works really, really weirdly sometimes. Yeah. You get the fact that both of those episodes are directed by Cliff Ball.
Right.
Cliff Ball was the guy who the Bolians were named after.
Yeah.
Now, there's nothing that I can see in those episodes that in any way, shape or form links to the story that I can think of at the moment. But Cliff Ball also directed 2 other episodes.
Right.
Do you know what that was?
No.
The Best of Both Worlds, Part 1 and 2.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
I should have known that. Sure.
Yeah. So that is a real...
yeah.
I think that is as nerdy as I've ever got.
That's definitely the deepest. That's the deepest you've gone so far. Definitely.
Yeah. But the episodes concerned were Unification Part 2.
Yeah.
That was 5-8. And 521 was actually the episode The Perfect Mate. Where a empathic woman who's like being married off to alien on another planet, sort of heal the rift between them, actually binds herself to Picard because she falls in love with him. Yeah. So, but I can't see that either of those stories. I mean, it's got the link.
I think it's just a kind of a nice. If it is what they were doing, it's another kind of. Just something just to put in to give homage or respect to previous people, which I like. They've done that a couple of times in this series, and
also previously for Cliff Ball as well, because of the Bolians and stuff.
The Bolians, So I think that's what it is. They tend to do that a lot in those shows. So
So
great catch, though. Fair play to you.
Yeah, I'm quite proud of that nerdy catch there.
So a big tick for you on that one.
So anyway, Soji's quarters is a complete mess. Picard realizes that she's close to discovering who she is, and Hugh says, "Well, how can I help?" But he's saying there's no time. And Hugh looks for her on a device, but says, "Well, she's not on the cube." So then we cut over to Soji doing the Zalmach, and she is in her father's lab again. There's orc kids there, which you can see, but you can't see behind her because it's all obscured. She sees her father, but without a face.
Yeah.
She looks like Neo does on the Matrix, where his face all suddenly starts disappearing and just becomes done over. And you can hear Narek saying, push on. She goes behind the orchids and then, interestingly, sees herself on the table, but in bits and made out of wood. Now, this links obviously to the wooden figures for, the art figures that were in the room.
Yeah.
But also, I think that this links to the metaphor about Pinocchio, which is used in Star Trek very often, and also that links to the wooden box earlier because, obviously the wood whole sort of thing.
Yeah.
But Pinocchio has been used by Riker on 2 occasions to describe Data. The first time is where in Encounter at Farpoint, where Riker and Data first meet, and he's saying, I am better than humans in many ways, but I would give it all up to be human. And he says, like, hello Pinocchio or whatever it is. So that's the first time, but also the second time that he meets, he uses this reference to her, to Data, is in the episode Measure of a Man, where Riker is on the prosecution to get Data assigned to Bruce Maddox.
Yeah.
To improving that he's a piece of property rather than a person. And he switches Data off and he says Pinocchio is broken.
Yeah.
So again, link back to Maddox, link back to the whole, I want to be a real boy.
Yeah,
so,
that always been true kind of the Data story, I thought. Even up to the very last episode the movie where he Nemesis.
Yeah.
He always struggled with that, And when he got emotions, being able to switch them on and switch them off and stuff and everything.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So she looks up and sees two red moons, dark as blood, as she puts it. And then we see that Rizzo's actually on the comm to Narek, and she's saying, well done, I'll go and search for the planet.
Yeah.
Unaware, Soji asks what it means. She wakes up and Narek kisses her and says, that she isn't real and she never was, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And Narek leaves the room he's in tears, interestingly enough, and he places the mystery box in the room as the door, just before the door closes, and then it starts to open up very slowly, and a little emitter comes out, and then it emits a gas. Now, this gas is very similar to the assassination of the Romulan Senate by Shinzon in Star Trek Nemesis, because, it will kill Soji. But the only difference is that on Nemesis, the gas was green. This gas is red.
Yeah.
So Soji's, gasping, trying to escape the gas. Narek's, sobbing outside the room, not looking into the room, but the guard's watching her. And Soji falls to the floor, and part of the floor breaks, and then she realises, hang on a minute, I can get through the floor here. So she starts punching the floor and ripping up, metal plates and stuff like that. And the guard calls Narek, and he just sees her just as she escapes.
Why wasn't her hands and all the rest of it getting torn to shreds while she was doing this? Like she's still synthetic. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So obviously,
I thought that was a kind of a continuity error. I thought there should have been some sort of damage done.
Well, yeah, you would have thought so.
Yeah.
But maybe her synthetic skin, while maybe not detectable to be different from a tricorder to normal skin, maybe it has tougher properties than normal skin.
Yeah.
Just as a reaching idea.
Yeah, it would have been nice though if she'd just torn up a little bit, because she was literally punching and ripping steel and metal apart.
Oh yeah,
it would have been a nice little touch just to add in a bit of. Again, that's again, they're small touches. Me, I can be a bit OCD and that stuff.
it
You
is.
know.
But then again, it does start to fade into the fact that she is a synthetic.
Yes, agree with you there.
Yeah.
And
So
this is the real first moment we've seen it really, if you think about it.
for her, yeah. It's
the
like
real,
that
yeah,
Daj moment where she starts to fight, isn't it?
yeah,
Yeah. So we cut back to Soji's quarters, and Hugh has found Soji between two levels. Picard realizes she's been activated, and a chase through the cube. An ex-Borg says to Picard, "Locutus," which
yeah.
makes stop and turn.
I like that.
Very briefly, yeah, I like that one as well. Soji then, happen chancely, falls through the ceiling right in front of them. Well, who'd have known it? She was only a few feet away.
That's perfect writing there again.
As opposed to this Borg cube, which is several miles, of path, well, hundreds of miles of corridors and stuff like that, but they just happen to be within a few feet of her. Very convenient right in there. Picard explains to Soji who she is and about her sister and the fact that, he couldn't help her, but he's come to help Soji. And she follows them as Hugh looks for a way to escape. Cut to La Serena very, very quickly. Raffi says, "Oh, they're in serious trouble." Back to the cube. And that's probably the shortest scene in the whole thing.
Yeah.
It literally says, "Oh, they're in trouble now," or something like that. And then that's it. It's away again. There's not much dialogue at all.
More things like that with Raffi, I think.
No,
just quick one-liners and leave her go.
Yeah, and no liners with Jurati. Just forget her, just jettison her because she's a spy. So, cut back to the Borg cube, and Hugh takes Hugh takes Picard to the Queen's cell. He says, "Well, I've never been here before, but I can remember it," and this is sort of like links again with the idea of implanted or removed memories, which Picard has suffered because of the Borg. Hugh starts using these like hidden consoles, which suddenly pop up with all of this information, sort of like suspended in the middle of the air, and a spatial trajectory starts rising from the floor. And this is where they say this is assimilated from the Sicarians after Picard's time. Now, this references Star Trek Voyager in the episode Prime Factors, where the crew of the Voyager encounter a race called the Sicarians and try to buy their transporter technology, which could cut their travel time in half because it can go up to 40,000 light years. The Sicarians, because of their own version of the Prime Directive, refuse to allow Voyager to buy it.
Yeah, after watching that scene, I kind of felt bad for the Sicarians because, as we saw from that episode, they just kind of wanted to chill and have a good time. That was their philosophy, really, I suppose. And they probably invited the Borg for a bit of a nice suntan or a bit of relaxation, and they got assimilated. I kind of went, "Oh no."
Yeah. You look like you got some itchy skin. Do you want some analogies?
Yeah.
To quote the Doctor.
Yeah.
So this is where Hugh says that this was reserved for the escape of the Borg Queen if anything happened, which might indicate the fact that the Queen has escaped from this Borg cube. Very strongly indicates, I think. Maybe, again, this starts to link back to where the nest is.
Yeah.
So, again, we said before, it has a theoretical distance of 40,000 light years, which also, funnily enough, Soji says, without, just one of those bit of facts that she pulls out of her head. Picard calls the Serenas, talks to Raffi and says that they're leaving to rendezvous at Nepenthe. Now, this is, sort of like a bit of a new reference, really. Rios asks if he knows it, and he says yes. And they're saying, "Well, how are you going to get there?" And Picard says, "Don't worry about that. We'll meet you there."
Yeah.
Sort of thing. And we had a conversation before we started the show about this because I have not seen anything at all
cold turkey
about cold turkey for what the next episode is. And my theory, which is, and I'm not going to say whether or not it's true or not.
Well, I don't think so.
Because you've already either confirmed or denied this. But
well, I haven't watched the next episode yet, but I just know from watching the pre-trailers.
You know the answer to this question.
Yes.
Or this theory. I don't want to spoil it, but my theory is that the next episode will have Riker and Troy.
Yeah.
Because I think that the Nepenthe is where they live.
Yeah.
So that's my theory. I have not seen any trailer or anything, so we'll see if that's true. I've not looked at IMDb to see who's on the cast list for the next episode of that. I don't do that because I know The Mandalorian's going to be spoiled because I've seen loads of stuff about that, and I don't want Picard to be spoiled because I am really, really savouring this way of absorbing a show now. It's going back to that whole thing of you have a week to consider it, turn it about in your head, break it down, think about where it might be going. I love binge watching stuff. Love it. Absolutely, passionately love binge watching it.
I do too.
But something like this has to be savoured.
Oh, it's made it more special, I think, Hayden, to be honest with you.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I love about this.
And I know we spoke before we started recording. I'm kind of like Rafi now at the moment, looking for my fix. Because I usually have the show watched 3 times since yesterday.
Yeah.
Because it comes out, or this morning, is it? Because it kind of comes out at 2 a.m. in America. And I don't have Amazon, so I guess it's my different ways. But I messaged you to try and get this episode recorded early so I could watch it early. I really want to know what happens.
Yeah, and unfortunately, he's been really good so that he doesn't inadvertently spoil it. He hasn't watched it.
I haven't watched it. That's the truth. Yeah. And trust me, I came close today when I was in the gym this morning because I usually watch it twice. I go to gym at like 6 a.m. sometimes, and I usually watch it twice while I'm exercising, maybe 3 times. And I didn't this morning, and I was like jonesing for a fix of Picard, you know.
Yeah. Do you know, considering, because it normally launches about 11:30 in the UK.
Yeah.
If you could wait another 50 minutes.
No. No. I'll be texting you soon.
I'm going to be making this podcast late in another 50 minutes.
No, you can't. My family are home soon. They're texting me. They're on the way home.
So we can watch it simultaneously. Because I think that would be really good for us both to get the idea, what's happening at the same time and just getting that reactions from both of them.
We could try and plan it maybe for this season finale.
Yeah, make that
something. Make that on a YouTube or a camera face to face where we're both watching a reaction. We'll come up with something. There's an interesting idea there, I think, Hayden.
Definitely.
Yeah, good one.
So anyway, I forgot where we at. Right, so he says that they'll meet there, and then Picard has discovered that Elna has appeared, and Picard's discovered, and then Elna appears and kills the guards. So he's beamed over, basically. Soji says, "I can hear more guards." Picard explains about the device to Elna, but he refuses to leave and says, "I will cover your exit." Hugh needs a few minutes to shut everything down after they've gone. Because they walk through it and says, "Right, I'm going to need a couple of minutes to shut it down. Will you be able to hold off the guards that long?" And Elna says very confidently, "I won't need a few minutes."
Yes.
Which
finally.
I thought, finally we're going to get to see this great battle with Elna and all of his martial arts skills. And then the doors close, it goes black, and then all that you hear is Elna saying, "Please, my friends, choose to live." And then the music comes up and I'm going, no!
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. I was so looking forward to seeing that bit.
I think we'll see next episode, which I'll be watching soon.
Oh,
God. I think we'll see a bit of action now in the next one.
Yeah.
I
think if I'm right, I think that the next one's going to be very sort of like sentimental Picard sort of side.
I think so. I think, not that I know, I'm hoping, I think if we're right about the Riker and Troy, I think the next episode will feel the most Star Trek Generation episode out of them all.
Yeah.
I'm only guessing. I'm hoping. I'm hoping there's a lot more of those goosebump moments, and it'll be nice for that. I'll just do a quick one there. That was well described as always, hitting some brilliant deep cuts and some great information. As overall as an episode, what did you think? For me, I thought it was a good episode.
Yeah,
I didn't think it was the best episode.
Because I quite like the episodes that are deep in exposition.
Yes.
But this was what was needed.
Yeah, it moved it on.
Yeah, we needed it to move the story on, and it's definitely now. We've got the main characters together.
Yeah.
Although now a bit disjointed because of circumstances, but we know that they are going to get back together.
Yeah.
So I think that we're in a good place in this episode, and bearing in mind that now we're on the sort of like final chapter of this story.
Yeah, we're kind of coming to the end game now.
Yeah.
What I liked about the episode now was Picard having that angry and kind of fear relapse again to his traumatic Borg past, and then getting kind of grounded by Hugh and by everything that they're doing with the reclamation sites to try and help the Borg and stuff. I thought that was a nice kind of closure, a circle for Picard. I enjoyed that, and I might put that to the side now a little bit, I think, which it needs to do, Yeah. The other thing is, I hope they don't do it, but I think they're going to kill Hugh. I'm only speculating. I hope they don't do it. If they kill him, I'll go mad. I don't think he deserves to die.
No, I don't either.
But I'm only guessing. I think they're leading. They're kind of a lot of these kind of TV shows. They have characters that can be killed. Like he's kind of the guy in the red Star Trek uniform. They're the guys that die. When they're being done. I think Hugh's been built up for that. Again, I'm only guessing. I don't know.
I'm not sure that because I think there's one of two ways that they're going to go with Hugh and Elnor now, and that is either we're never going to see him again, or they're going to be in the next episode, and we're going to see the ramifications for them from that. I believe and hope it's going to be the latter, so that we're going to see more of them. I think there is a strong possibility that one or both of them might die. Yeah,
I hope they don't. I quite like Hugh. I think it'll be. I know we'll see. I like
and I like Elnor as well.
Yeah, I do, and I think the next episode, hopefully, because I think I wrote down. One of the notes I wrote down. I was watching. I was like, why did he stay behind, Elnor? There was no really need for him to stay behind and protect their retreat. Really, was there?
Yeah, so Hugh could close down the. Yeah,
but Hugh could have done that on his own.
Not with the guards coming. That was the whole point that I think they were trying to say.
I just think up till this episode, the Elnor character hasn't really been used. He's been a kind of a bit of a pointless character in a way, just the odd throwaway lines.
He's been a light relief, basically.
Yeah, and he's been good at it. Don't get me wrong, and I'm really enjoying him as a character. He's very kind of, like we said before, Lord of the Rings style kind of character in the universe, really, isn't he?
Oh yeah.
But I think from next week on now, we're going to see a lot more of him. I like the Soji Narek storyline has kind of come to a conclusion, really, if you think about it.
Yeah.
They've kind of got the information out of her.
I don't think it is, because especially if his name does mean betrayal, I think that he's I think he's going to betray his sister because he loves Soji.
No, I agree with you with that. I just think I like the fact that we've seen their story arc on the Borg ship come to an end.
That bit. Yeah.
And now the plot can go in a different direction again and build those characters. And I'd say they will. I think you're right what you're saying. They'll end up together. The other thing I found curious was when Daj was activated, she automatically, I think, was a central image to find Jean-Luc Picard, if I'm right, in the first episode.
Yeah.
Kind of like a homing beacon, remember? When Saj was activated.
But the mum AI told her to go and find him.
No, I think are you sure? I thought more, I'll have to go back and look at that episode again. I thought she felt drawn to him when she came to
She saw his picture, but
yeah,
I'm sure that the mum AI told her to go and find him as well.
Yeah, but I think she felt more of a connection to Picard than Soji is. So is that got to do maybe Maddox, the way he programmed them, or the way they were programmed?
Well, if you think about it,
you know, to
if
have
you think
different
about,
parameters.
yeah, I think it might be that as well, because if you're thinking about it logically, Daj was sent to Earth,
Yes, that's
where
yeah.
Picard is.
And what's
Soji
the artifact,
was light years away. So
I just thought it was an interesting thing. Like they both had two different kind of activation codes, really, or activation parameters. You know.
But I think that the difference there, though, is that Daj was forced to activate, whereas Soji was taken on a journey and slowly activated. So you know, it's like how, you know, if you're on a rickety bridge, do you drive over it fast to get over it quick enough it doesn't fall down, or do you drive over it carefully so it doesn't shake about too much so that you don't fall down? And I think that that's the difference between the two, is that because Narek has taken her on this journey to find herself, that's why she's activated in a different way, as in a not so panicked way.
Yeah. Look, overall it was an enjoyable episode, and it moved the story on nicely. The other thing I noticed as well about, I suppose this is more kind of style of filming they've done with it. It feels very kind of Stargate. I'm a huge Stargate fan. I massive. I'm up probably maybe like your love for Star Trek. Like I'm like that now with Stargate. I kind of feel this first season feels very like it, where everything is kind of based on worlds more so than spaceships. You know, does that make sense? I don't know, is that down to budgeting? Like, there's a lot of times where he's in the holodeck on his own. The TNG was always kind of in space. Yeah, we got the odd kind of away missions and stuff, but it was mainly in space, really, you know.
Yeah.
But these ones feel a lot more grounded on Earth, on Earth-based worlds and stuff. So I quite like that. I thought it's a nice kind of twist to it, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
But again, I enjoyed it. Again, the Raffi story, if it wasn't in it, I wouldn't have missed it, you know. And
if the Jurati story wasn't in, I wouldn't have missed it.
Yeah, so look, there we go. We can both agree. That's good. But that just goes to show in the writing as well, I suppose, you know.
I think what because you notice different things.
Yeah.
You know, you've noticed different things to me, and I've noticed different things to you. And I've gone super nerdy down the rabbit hole.
That's what you do. I enjoy that. It's great.
Yeah, but you know, I think it's just the sort of things that it's just what you pick out yourself. You know, the sort of. You know, everybody likes different people and stuff like that. I'm not saying that I like Raffi, because I'm not really into that sort of you talking to me a chewing a brick kind of person. But I'm not, doesn't mean that I don't understand that sort of person. And especially with like the job that I do and stuff like that, probably explains who I am. I've got a slightly different view of it. But
so that's overall, it was a good episode. I'm really looking forward to the next one now. In a few minutes.
In 40 minutes when it's released on Amazon.
Well, hopefully 10 more minutes we'll be done. I'll be able to get started. Because my family are home soon. I keep saying it, but
okay.
Do you want to jump into theories, or will I just do a quick? I've kind of said a few of mine already, but so I've got much left.
Right, okay.
What I'll do is I'm still sticking to my other one. I think it's the Borg Queen is involved somewhere. Now, a little kind of a side story on that one. There was a reference to the Queen of the Borg potentially being Romulan towards the end of the episode. I picked up on that for some reason, which could indicate, I don't know, was the Queen Borg, the Borg Queen, let me get this right now, when she was assimilated, was she actually a Romulan originally? You know, and that could explain then why they have why they have such a strong understanding for removing Borg tech and stuff. And now the Romulan Queen was the old Borg Queen, and she actually sent the Tal-Shiar after the two sisters, the twins, to kill them. No, that was kind of it's kind of an out there one, like.
Yeah, I was actually thinking that maybe the fact that the Romulans are so good at removing Borg tech gives more credence to the theory that we've discussed before about the fact that the Romulans created the Borg.
Are involved in it. Yeah, I still think that one's going to come.
But I think that the fact that the Borg Queen being a queen,
yeah,
so the Borg Queen being a Romulan is probably maybe more difficult to come to terms with, just simply because of the fact that the assimilating Romulans seems to have derailed the assimilation process and the whole Borg cube. But could that have been because of people who were done, again, as I'd said in my element of that theory, was that the Jacques Vache had changed the genetic marker that made them unborgable, a bit like species 8472.
Yeah, it's just it's just a thought I had. I thought it'd be interesting if they're all kind of assimilated, and if the Romulan, one of them, actually became the Borg Queen. I thought that would have been interesting. Yeah. And back to my other theory, then, in the Borg Queen is a kind of a real throwaway one that I'd love to happen. Was that what if the Romulan Queen was Sela? Remember, she was played by Denise Crosby.
The daughter of Tasha.
She's the daughter. Yeah, I would love.
Mirror Universe. Yeah. Or from a Mirror Universe.
A Mirror Universe. That's right. Yeah, I think I would love if she was. No, she doesn't appear anywhere that she's coming back into anything, or anything, it hasn't been leaked or anything. I just think that'd be great to see her as the Romulan Queen.
Oh, it would be. Yeah. But I can't see that.
No, I know I can't either. I just like
it's an interesting notion. Yeah, though.
This theory section, I just have a bit of fun. You kind of go more deep into it. I kind of throw what I'd like to happen out, I think, in my theories. The other one is with when she was doing the meditation to see the planets. Yeah. Now, if you go to the TNG episode, the Descent episodes, the planet lore and the Borg are on. It actually has a reddish hue and two moons above it. Yeah. And it has a very turbulent atmosphere that we saw in her vision. So I was wondering maybe if that's a connection as well to going back to lore and the Borg and the homeworld nest,
It could be. It could be. Yeah. There's a few things it could.
That's kind of all my theories. I'm sticking with the ones where I think the Borg Queen's going to be involved in this, and all the other theories I spoke about in previous episodes. I'm kind of sticking the main ones that we're kind of slowly solidifying them. Yeah,
the ones that we've had confirmed.
Yes,
because they have to. How many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 theories confirmed so far. Definitely. Yes. So. My new theories, because last episode we went through all of the ones that we had confirmed and not. Yeah. I don't think that there's anything that has been confirmed or not confirmed, unconfirmed as it were, in the last episode out of the remaining theories that I had or that we had. But what I'm going to say, and I said before, I think we're going to see Riker and Troy this episode. Yeah. I think. And I'm going back. I'm linking back to my theory about I think Control's involved in this.
I'm kind of coming around to that one. No, I think you're right there, and I think that's what the vision. I think that's what's her name? Commander O, is it? Yeah, Commodore O. I think, or for some reason, whatever she showed or did to Jurati, she's shown her what I've seen.
It might be linked to that. Yeah.
I think she's showing what the future holds or something. I don't know. I'm still but I think Control is there somewhere.
Yeah. So, interestingly, I was watching the episode where we first really start to find out about Control of Discovery yesterday. And so my theory is this. So, in one of the episodes, Pike and Tyler go investigate a temporal anomaly in a space shuttle, not a space shuttle, but a shuttlecraft, which it was established that the distortion was from 500 years in the future. Yeah, and this was all linked to Control in the present. Now, let's just say that it is all tied up, and that the probe was Control sending itself back in time to get the information that Discovery had stored in itself.
Yeah.
Which means one of two things. Either Control developed into a malevolent form of AI from the Disco times, so it would be around now, yeah?
Yeah.
Or it's a preordained paradox, which would mean that for it to exist, it had to send that probe back in time, 500 years, to go to the events of Disco.
Yeah.
Before they went 1,000 years in the future. Either way, either side of that, Control has to exist in the Picard time frame.
Yeah, I think you're right. I know at the start of our kind of discussion at season 1 and episode 1 and 2, I was iffy on the Control connection, but the more we go into it, the more I'm coming around to. I think you're bang on with that one. There's definitely a connection.
Yeah, well, we're talking about synths, which is artificial intelligence. Yeah. That was artificial intelligence trying to improve itself. And it already had a way of sort of like inhabiting the body, but the next step would be for it to replicate people as it wanted to. Yeah,
it's a very Terminator kind of feel to it, isn't it? I suppose, if I kind of simplify it down, maybe.
Yeah, funny enough, I was watching that fake last
night.
Yes,
okay. Yeah, it has that kind of term. Like, I'm only speculating that maybe Commander O or someone knows in the future that eventually the synths will, or syndicates will, take over the universe or destroy the planets or do something, and our Control will eventually take over. Control is the new Skynet, really, as I suppose I could break it down to that. For my simpler terms, maybe that kind of simplifies what you're saying. Because I think you're right. I think that's probably going to be your biggest take if you're right.
Yeah.
And I like this. I think it's a great theory.
Maybe Dash is...
Soji or Dash?
Soji, rather. Because she was saying about... Ramda was saying about she was the destroyer.
Yeah.
Maybe she's a catalyst that starts all of that in the future.
Maybe.
And because Ramda says, I remember you from tomorrow. So maybe she links in with Control at some point in the future and causes the rise of the AI, as it were.
Yeah, as it were. Yeah, there's definitely a Terminator feel to it, isn't there?
And that's where she's the destroyer.
Yeah. I like it. If you're right and that's where they're going, I like that idea. I think it connects all the Discovery universe, everything together, and keeps that nice continuity together.
Yeah.
And it will make it brilliant for season 3 of Discovery to see where we're going to head.
Oh, yeah, it will.
Can't wait for that. I think our talks now are going to be great because the deep dives in that are going to be, because it's all new canon,
Yeah,
so
definitely.
It's going to be a lot of speculation on our behalf.
Yeah, can't wait for...
oh, man, I can't wait for that. It's going to be great.
As a matter of fact, I know that you saw the pictures, but I've just got the Discovery vinyl soundtrack.
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to listening to that.
Stephen's getting it tomorrow, is he?
He is, yeah. I've picked him at the post on that one.
Yeah, fair play to you.
So final bit then, because we asked for our listeners' views, so we've got a couple of views.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah. Thank you very much, boys.
It is, yeah. And if anybody else has got any views or you want to submit them, please just let us know, because we really want to know what you think. If you might have completely different ideas. So Oliver Brooks has two, and that is Sonia Daj isn't Data's daughter; she's Maddox's. Who was inspired by Soon to create two children, one good and one bad, the same way as Data and Law were good and bad. It makes sense Data would create... it wouldn't make sense that Data would create a destroyer as a child.
Yeah.
I agree completely. And I think a lot of that's already kind of been really confirmed anyway, in the fact that, when they say... it's Data's daughter, not saying that Data created Daj and Soji, but she was based on the engrams from Daj and Soji, whereas Maddox did create Daj and Soji. So I think a bit of those bits have been confirmed. But he's also saying Data's daughter is a creation. Actually, Agnes Jurati and Maddox was in love with her because she's Data's creation. And they co-created Soji and Daj, and Jurati is desperate to hide this secret.
Yeah.
I think
I like
that's
that
an
one. I
interesting
like that one
idea.
actually. Yeah, that's a great
Yeah,
idea.
it's
That's a
it's
nice
quite.
one.
Yeah, it is. It kind of, and it fits in with some of the other conical stuff that has already
Mm,
been said about, you know, Girati's contribution towards the development of Soji and Dash.
yeah.
And then his second one is Soji and Dash are remnants of the Borg Queen, a failed experiment that used to try and access some of the secret Borg technology. One last prediction that the series will end with Captain Worf of the Enterprise.
Okay, if that happens, I'll jizz my pants. That'd be brilliant. Can you imagine that? It'd be brilliant.
Yeah, it will.
That's a
Well,
great
also, doesn't he in either the comic or the audio book actually captain the Enterprise?
He does, yes. He
Yeah.
takes over for one. It's the comics I think you're thinking of.
Yeah,
Yeah, because I think Riker gets
goes to the Titan.
the Titan, and he goes
Yeah.
a different direction. And yeah, I would love to see the Enterprise appear at some stage in the series. I know we have it in Discovery, but
Absolutely.
it'd be nice if they brought Pike and the crew, or it'd be interesting. It'd be good. I know they probably won't because that's before Riker, obviously. But if they just bring
Well,
the
it's
current
before
Enterprise,
Kirk
yeah,
as well.
it's before
Pike,
Kirk.
yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah.
before Kirk. I meant to say Kirk. But it just if they brought a new Enterprise, like they did in Discovery, into this universe as well, to see the next kind of generation of it.
The F,
Yeah, it'd be great.
the Enterprise F, that would be good.
Yeah, I would.
But then again, it could also be the captain of the Enterprise D still, because we know that Starfleet vessels last at least 20 years. So
Right.
that would be, the Sovereign class Enterprise was only about 25 years old. So it'd be approaching decommissioning sort of age at that point.
It'd be just nice at the end of the kind of a season finale. Picard's in trouble, and then Starfleet sends the Enterprise to rescue him. You know what I mean? That's something like that. It'd be nice, and then he ends up back on the bridge, standing alongside the chair or something. Can you that'd be just it'd be fantastic. It probably won't happen, but it'd still be great though.
It would be, but with Captain Worf saying, "Today is a good day to die."
Yeah, it'd be great.
Yeah,
I like that one. No, that's a great one. Thank you very much.
It is, yeah. So Adrian Parker, who's been really enjoying these, I know this, said, could Soji and Dash be some sort of Borg Queen experiment where they were created to appear more human? Could the Borg be trying to get hold of Picard again, especially with all of his Locutus flashbacks while on the artifact?
I like that one.
I think when we were talking once a couple of weeks, it might have been a week or so ago, I'd said about the idea of the Borg trying to infiltrate through to that sort of thing, didn't I?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
But I hadn't sort of fully formed of it as an idea, which I think is basically what Adrian's saying as well there. That's something that had occurred to me. I think trying to get hold of Picard, though, for what reason? She'd have to really fancy Picard now because his knowledge of Starfleet would be inadequate. He doesn't hold any favour in that sort of area either. He's an older guy. His experience will have dwindled. We obviously know that his wits have dwindled because he's still allowing Girati to walk around and she's a murderess. I'm not so sure about the idea that they're trying to get hold of Picard, but maybe trying to create infiltrators of the Federation through sort of synths, and maybe using what they learned from Data when they started to assimilate him. Is a possibility. What do you think?
I think I like that theory that Adrian said there. It could be also the fact that Picard is the one that got away. The Borg want him back in the collective again, as well.
Like an obsession.
Like how he was obsessed with the Borg, which, he's the one that, and he's caused so much damage to their culture and their race and their philosophies and stuff. He's caused so much damage to that, that it's more a case of just vengeance.
But what about Janeway was partially assimilated?
Yeah, she was.
7 of 9 escaped And there was that episode where there was sort of like semi-lesbian thing with the Borg Queen, wasn't
I know,
there?
I know what you're saying, but for some reason, if Picard is the cutest of Borg, he was given, like, put on a pedestal by the Borg when he was assimilated. Remember, to put fear back into the Federation. He was given a lot more power when they assimilated him. Again, it's just a theory. I like Adrian's idea, though. I think it's an interesting one.
It is an interesting one. Yeah, definitely.
But again, like I said to you, it's been a great episode. It's the season, so I kind of don't want it to finish. I wish it was 24 episodes, like they used to do in the old days, 22, 23 episodes. But it's a shame it's only 10.
Yeah.
But again, it's been great. It's been a good week again, and a lot of stuff has happened. I think next week on now we're really going to see stuff. Well, this tonight in a minute, we're going to really see stuff happen. Hopefully, or a lot more information. I think.
Let's just 23 minutes. It'll be on over here, and then we can talk about it as it's going on.
I'd love to
live.
I have my house is full tonight. All my 3 daughters are home, which never happens because they're all grown now. Yeah. So they're actually just texting me they're on the way home now. So I'm actually delighted they're so late. It gave us a chance. I think we're an hour and 40 minutes again, an hour and 50 minutes nearly.
We're a couple of minutes off 2 hours.
We're not, are we? So it's nearly our longest one. So again, is it?
It is our longest one.
Oh my God, it's getting long. We're going to be screwed for the last episode. It'll go on for 4 hours.
The last episode will go on until Discovery starts.
Yeah. So look, it's been a great. I do love these hidden. It's been great. So I can't wait now for next week's one, which will get done. I'm off Sunday, Mondays, I told you, so maybe we might get it done on Monday this week if you're around. That
sounds good, because I have to admit, talking about this, because I never get to nerd out in this way.
No, we say it every week. We don't.
Yeah, and this is the highlight of my week, is doing this one now, because it's brilliant. So
it's been great.
It has been.
Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed it.
Yes, and, well, stay tuned. We'll be back on Monday with a show. I think Alan, we're doing one out with this because Steve's not going to be here this weekend because he's going away, and then hopefully early on in the beginning of next week with the new episode 7 Picard Special.
And I think there could be a lot in number 7 now for us.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot to be talking about right the way through now. So, and because I think they're going to start to also set up season 2.
All right.
I forgot to mention the Borg cube. That's going to be reactivated, and it's going to be some kind of emergency. And that 16-year, 1,573 or whatever it was days without assimilation, it's going to get reset back to 0. And I think that's why they've left Elnor there with Hugh.
Yeah.
I think that's probably a link. So. Okay, right. Well, all the normal details we'll mention them in the next show, but I think this has been 2 hours we've been sat here recording now. I think that's long enough. So thank you all very much for listening. Hope you've enjoyed it. Boys. Thank you to Alan as well for joining me and us having this great time recording this show.
Massive thanks as well to you, Hayden. I've loved it. Cheers, bro.
Brilliant. All right.
Talk sure.
Okay, well, it's, in that case then, it's live long and prosper from me.
And it's a goodbye from me.
Good night.
Good night.